We have not solved older, deeper-rooted problems that continue to diminish the potential of half of the world's population. Now is the time to act. If we take bold steps to better the lives of women, we will be taking bold steps to better the life of children and families too. Families rely on mothers and wives for emotional support and care. Families rely on women for labor in the home. And increasingly everywhere, families rely on women for income needed to raise healthy children and to care for other relatives. As long as discrimination and inequities remain so commonplace everywhere in the world, as long as girls and women are valued less, are fed less, are fed last, overworked, underpaid, not schooled, subjected to violence in and out of their homes, the potential of the human family to create a peaceful and prosperous world will not be realized. So let this be our call to action. Let us heed that call so we can create a world where every woman is treated with respect and dignity, where every boy and girl is loved and cared for equally, and where every family has the hope of a strong and stable future. This afternoon, we are going to launch our 16 days of activism. So to start formally this meeting, I have the honor of introducing our Area 5 Director, Lisette Jean Lim, to call this meeting to order.
It's 3:15 in the afternoon. I now call this meeting of Area 5 to order.
Thank you very much. And now, can I please ask David Santamaria, our in-house tech czar and punong abala, to lead us through the national anthem, our Zonta prayer, and our hymn.
Noon pa man, malaki na ang naging bahagi ng mga kababaihan sa lipunang Pilipino. Kaisa sila sa marubdob na paghahangad ng kalayaan ng ating lahi. Kabilang sila sa paglinang ng ating makulay na sining at mayamang kultura. Kasapi sila sa pagtataguyod ng mga adhikain ng kapwa mamamayan at sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng lipunan. Katuwang sila sa pagtuklas sa mga larangan ng agham at medisina. Kapanalig sila sa pagpapairal ng batas, karapatan at katarungan para sa lahat. Kabahagi sila sa paglilingkod sa bayan at sa pagpapanatili ng demokrasyang Pilipino. Sa paglipas ng panahon, hindi nagmaliw ang kanilang pag-ibig sa ating inang bayan. Mga kababayan, ito ang alay ng mga kababaihang Pilipino para sa bayan. Tumayo po tayong lahat at sabay-sabay nating awitin ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Ayaw magiliw, pero sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa dilim mo'y buhay. Lupang hiniram, tulad ka ng magiging, sa manlulubi, di ka masisingil, sa lahat ng lulok, sa sigat at sa lalim mong bahaw, may ginagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isang ng patawad mo'y talumpay na naglilingin, ang bituin na araw ng kailan pa may madilim. Lumay ang araw ng 100% buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng pag ay makahamit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
The Zonta Prayer. We thank Thee, Father, for your blessings and for your gracious, loving care. Help us to honor Zonta's code, to be in all things fair and square, and grant our prayers for lasting peace for all nations everywhere. Amen.
Hail to our Santa Claus, trustworthy, true, we pledge our loyal hearts and strength to you. Circling the homeward round, our praises ring. Hail to our Santa Claus, of thee we sing. Santa, the name to us always shall be our emblem of service, love, and loyalty. That which we build today, others shall praise. Hail to our Santa Claus through endless days.
So here we have welcome remarks. Can we ask our AD Lisette to give the welcome remarks to today's activity?
Thank you, Lorna. President Mildred Betancol, Santa Clara of Makati Ayala, Dr. Patricia Licuanan, Commissioner Gwen Pimentel-Gana, Senator Risa Hontiveros-Baraquel, District Governor Shabali Usatanugra, District 17, Lieutenant Governor Ofelia Bautista, District 17, District Treasurer Susan Lim, Zonta dignitaries, President's Biennium 2020, guests, fellow Zontians, friends, good afternoon. This year, one of the most anticipated and most watched events of the world was the recently held 2020 US presidential election. We all know that the election outcome produced many firsts in American history. At 78, President-elect Joe Biden will become the oldest president the United States ever had, after garnering the highest number of votes in recorded history. What is also striking is that America will have its first woman vice president. A lawyer prosecutor vice president-elect Kamala Harris is a woman of color, born of immigrant parents, an Indian mother, and a Jamaican father. She will be the first woman to sit as Senate President alongside Nancy Pelosi, also the first woman Speaker of the House. I heard that there will be more women appointments in the coming days to reflect some of the hallmarks of his administration: gender sensitivity, diversity, and inclusion. Why am I mentioning the case of the United States, you might say, when we already have some of our own firsts in our country, such as first woman president, vice president, female justice Supreme Court, pilot, and others who broke the glass ceiling from holding first woman positions in government service to the private or business sector. We all look up to the most powerful country in this planet. Ironically, for a country that espouses democracy, equality, fairness, and justice for all, what we see is the opposite of the cases and incidents we see, which gave rise to the movements such as the Women's Liberation, Black Lives Matter, and the Me Too movement, and so forth. It took painstaking work, sacrificed lives, and continuous struggle to cause and action to their cause. To be where they are now, these first women titles did not come easy for their holders. It was like passing through the eye of the needle. And it is the same for any cause. You have to work continuously until you reach your goal. You continue to work to maintain and sustain all the hard work and sacrifice which you and many have invested shine your cause or advocacy. Women here this afternoon has been relentless in its call to empower women through service and advocacy. The interesting and multifarious activities we have lined up for the 16 days of activism from November 25 to December 10 are a testament of our commitment to sustain women's cause. We have not backed down from the pursuit or to push our advocacies. Say no to violence against women, child not bride, stop human trafficking, save Mother Earth, let's end violence, women's rights are human rights. All the activities are shells that we can fire from a mortar to call to action the target or authorities on audience they are aimed at. We cannot waver from our mission. Today, November 25, is International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women. December 2 is International Day for the Abolition of Slavery and Suppression of the Trafficking in Person. December 10 is the International Human Rights Day. So within the 16 days, we celebrate the dignity of a person. 16 days of activism this year is an opportunity for us to reform and strengthen our programs that will create awareness about the gender-based violence on women and children. Anyone can be a victim of gender-based violence, but some are high risk because of inequality and discrimination. This year, our goal are the following. Goal number one, access to education, access to health, policy advocacy, young people engagement, and international participation. Our resource speakers are experts in their field. They have graciously accepted our invitation to be part of the 16-day journey as they themselves are advocates of women's cause. They are not only women sages, but enlightened and evolved men who also believe in championing women's cause, such as the eradication of all forms of gender-based violence, like human trafficking and domestic abuse. We have to be courageous, persistent, relentless. We are all connected. Renowned spiritual leader and author Marianne Williamson said, and I quote, "The wounding of women leads to a wounding of the world. The denial and suppression of women's voices has left humanity almost bereft of hope. We have to find our voices, our gifts, and our courage to participate in co-creating a more significant world." We have seen societal and environmental breakdown. Human civilization is seeking to repair itself, and the ascendance of women's wisdom is essential to the process. There is a TV special entitled Women in Focus, and they discuss about a global phenomenon entitled COVID-19 brought out the best in women. They reported how it is possible for women leaders like Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand, Angela Merkel, Chancellor of Germany, and Tsai Ing-wen, President of Taiwan, to put COVID-19 in check compared to their male counterparts in other countries who had to grapple with the exponential surge in their COVID cases. We don't have to look far. In our midst, we have one empowered woman whom we fondly call DG Palm, our district governor, Shavali Usatanugra, the wind beneath our wings. Her theme for this biennium, the link to the future, is now embrace Norma with optimism for women. And on behalf of Area 5, District 17, Zonta International, I would now like to thank our resource speakers, the organizers, Zonta Club of Makati Ayala, and the PR Rita D. This afternoon kickoff, we will start with Women Who Matter, and that is Dr. Patricia Licuanan, Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel-Gana, and Senator Risa Hontiveros-Baraquel. And then later on, we will have the launch of the RCBC bank card tie-up. Our calendar for the 16 days is jam-packed with relevant programs and engaging activities. Just log on to our district official Facebook page. So ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you all to Zonta's Our Voice, Our Freedom. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much to our AD Lizette, and welcome to our District Governor Pam. We are joined now by our Commissioner on Human Rights, Gwen Pimentel-Gana, is in the room. And perhaps, Gwen, before I introduce you, you could say hello to everybody.
I'm in the house. Good. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invite. I'm so happy to be
Welcome.
Okay,
here.
thank you.
See you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you, Gwen. I have abused Gwen to give us some remarks, although I understand she was very sick. Before we also proceed, I saw that Commissioner, our chair of the Philippine Commission on Women, has joined us and is giving felicitations to all. Uh, Philippine Commissioner Head, Sandy Montano, are you in the house? Would you like to say hello?
Hi, good
I saw
afternoon po
you.
to each and every one of you. Yeah. Thank you, Attorney Lorna, may
Okay.
kababayan. And I'm so happy to be joining the 16
May
Days
kababayan.
Activism. Yes.
You want to show your
And
face, or you are
congratulations.
in your... There you are.
I am showing my
Thank you
face
very
right now.
much.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you very much, Chair Sandy, and thank you very much for our Lupang Hinirang. We continuously
Yeah,
plagiarize it and play it in all our functions.
yeah.
Okay, I'd like to introduce.
Thank you.
Are you now here? Are you now here, Past President Nini, to introduce our attendees? Nini's still disconnected. In any event, let's proceed with the program. Today we are joined via Zoom message by one of my dearest friends, Commissioner Gwen Pimentel-Gana. Gwen comes from a distinguished family of public servants. Her father is no other than Senator Aquilino Pimentel. Her brother is also former Senate President Coco Pimentel. But to me, the real politician of the family is her mom, her mother, Lourdes de la Llana, or Tita Bing. Tita Bing exemplifies a complete woman, a woman with many hats: mother, teacher, writer, singer, artist, religious advocate, among others. Gwen graduated from the University of the Philippines, where she took her law and master's degree. Whoever said that the University of the Philippines produces communists should, I think, be jailed. Her advocacy includes children and youth. She has pushed for legislation on domestic and inter-country adoption. She has advocated for the marginalized and vulnerable sectors of society, for displaced farmers and fisher folks, for indigenous peoples and migrant workers. The most active of the 5 commissioners of the Commission on Human Rights, Gwen has advocated for access to justice for Filipino migrants and their families. In a recent statement, she has called for protection for indigenous peoples displaced from their communities because of COVID. She also has expressed deep concern with the warning made by Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade against female celebrities Lisa Soberano and Catriona Gray, following their vocal support for women's rights and their participation in an online forum to speak up for victims of gender-based violence and abuse. Such remarks, says Commissioner Gwen, are tantamount to harassment and red tagging. Commissioner Gwen personifies by her work the vision on the Commission of Human Rights of a just and humane society of persons equal in opportunity, living a life of dignity, vigilant against abuse and oppression. The mission of the Commission on Human Rights is to be the conscience of government and the people, and its mantra is dignity for all. Please welcome Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel-Gana as she gives us her insights on the plight of women today.
Good day to the empowered women of Zonta International and all those here present. Thank you for this opportunity to be part of this momentous event. In the Philippines, we kick off 18 days of activism from the 25th of November to the 12th of December, the International Day Against Trafficking. Today, as we start the campaign to end violence against women and girls, I wish to highlight two things. One, that gender and response to gender-based violence should be central to any crisis response, be it a pandemic or a disaster. And two, the importance of immediately responding to violence and providing protection in cases of violence. While it is primarily the duty of the state to respond and provide immediate protection, experiences on the ground show how women's organizations, women themselves, and community support groups are often able to provide immediate response and protection. Here we see the importance of our own roles in working and contributing toward a vow-free community. How do we ensure this? First, we must mainstream gender and gender-based violence response in any crisis or disaster response. The CHR's work during this period of lockdown documents the effect when we do not mainstream gender in our crisis or disaster response. There is a neglect of women and girls' needs, even as simple as needs like providing hygiene kits, menstrual kits, or ensuring access to family planning commodities and pre and natal care. There are also gaps in ensuring prompt response to cases of violence. One survivor who sought the help of the CHR for the rape of her daughter recounted how she was told to return after ECQ is lifted, or another recounted a barangay's refusal to issue a barangay protection order. What more for women and girls facing vulnerabilities, like women with disabilities, IP women, rural women, and other groups? These gaps need to be highlighted and made visible. They need to be immediately addressed. Without responding to gender needs during crisis and disaster, we render half of the population at risk and vulnerable. We leave women and girls behind to bear the exacerbated impact of the crisis. Number two, we must immediately respond to violence against women. It bears stressing that the state as duty bearer not only has the obligation to refrain from committing violence against women, it is also obligated to protect women from violence, including those committed by third persons. In times of crisis, when offices are overburdened, when transportation is limited, and when women and girls could be confined with their abusers, it is more important to stress the prompt, effective, and survivor response to gender-based violence. It is important to remind government that there can be no proper COVID or disaster response without provisions for the protection from violence. Take, for example, a good practice in France. Once lockdown was declared, some hotels were converted as shelters for survivors of violence. In some countries, survivors fleeing from an abusive household are explicitly excluded from quarantine restrictions. We should learn from these practices. The CHR's experience during this period also shows how women's organizations like Zonta and community support groups are often in the front line of gender-based violence response. In the case I mentioned regarding the rape of the minor and of the woman who was not issued a barangay protection order, these cases were reported to the CHR not by the victims themselves, but from support groups of community of women. Other reports come from NGOs working on women's human rights, from teachers who are concerned about the welfare of their students, or from a neighbor or a friend who witnessed violence, or from a group of volunteers and concerned individuals who provided temporary shelters for survivors. There are also groups like the Lunas Collective who develop an online counseling platform for survivors of violence during the pandemic. As women and as an organization like Zonta and as individuals and groups, We have the power to respond individually and collectively to address gender-based violence. We can do it through capacity building sessions by being support groups. We can be a community that responds to gender-based violence that ensures the visibility of the protection needs of women and girls. This may mean as simple as sharing reporting platforms for violence during the crisis. The CHR has several, like we have the e-report mo sa Gender Umbod for gender-based violence. We have one for OFWs. We have an e-lawyering project too. We can share information on groups providing free and online psychological support like the Lunas Collective or the Philippine Mental Health Association. We could also be individuals and groups that survivors of violence can talk to, seek advice, and referral from. And we can be a group who would report to authorities and the public should there be cases of inaction, insensitivity, or impunity. We can also teach women about having a safety plan, or we could be part of that safety plan even, part of an emergency escape plan in cases of violence. We have within us the power to work towards a vow-free community. In this time of pandemic, let us be creative in our responses. Let us look at our spheres of influence in our own household and communities and institutions where we work, as we work towards a culture that has zero tolerance for vow. This would mean working with government down to the barangay level to ensure that mechanisms addressing vow are functional and sensitive. This would mean calling out sexist and misogynistic remarks, campaigning and speaking out against practices that degrade and sexually objectify women, that marginalizes, oppresses, and exclude women. This would mean stopping practices that blame victims and encourages the rape culture. Indeed, a vow-free community starts with you and me. It is through solidarity and collective efforts that we can achieve spaces that respect each other's dignity and rights. Let us all work together for a community with zero tolerance for violence against women. Mabuhay ang Zonta. Salamat po.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Gwen. Truly, you have shown us that the Commission on Human Rights, and you in particular, are the conscience of government and the people, and in bringing dignity for all. As you said, let's all work together. Maybe we can improve the decline in the rating of the Philippines. For everybody's information, the World Economic Forum, which surveys about 153 countries based on 4 categories: economic participation, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment, has rated the Philippines number 16, which is down 8 notches from our, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, you can hear you.
Okay, which is down 8 notches from our rank last year. Last year, we ranked number 8. We are now number 16 in terms of widening the gap, the gender disparity gap. But still, we are number 1 in Asia. So let us heed the call of the Commission on Human Rights to join hands as civil society in improving the zero tolerance level for violence in the Philippines. To formally show our appreciation to Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel-Gana for sharing her time and valuable message, may I call on our District Governor Pam, assisted by AD Lizette, to present the Certificate of Appreciation to Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel-Gana.
Zonta International District 17 would like to present Human Rights Commissioner Gwendolyn Pimentel-Gana with a certificate of appreciation for your invaluable support as the guest speaker during the webinar of Zonta International District 17 Area 5, given the launching the 16 days of activism, given this day, the 25th of November, 2020, signed by Area 5 Director Lizette Jean F. Lim, and yours truly, Shawali Pamela Osatanugra, District 17 Governor. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our District Governor Pam and assisted by our Area Director Lizette. So we now go to the speaker of our 16 days of activism. And we are very blessed, the whole world. She addressed the whole world, she represented the country in all of those Beijings. But to formally introduce her, I would like to call on our President, Mildred Bicatango, President Zonta Club of Makati, Ayala, to formally introduce our guest speaker.
Warm greetings to everyone. Let me first take this opportunity to thank our Area 5 Director, Lizette Lim and team for entrusting our club, the Zonta Club of Makati Ayala, to be the lead hosts of the kickoff of this year's 16 Days of Activism and the opportunity to introduce our distinguished speaker, a remarkable woman icon in education, social psychology, and activism for women's rights. Our guest speaker has achieved immensely for women in the Philippines society, yet for her, there's a lot of things to do more. A person who is very inspiring and worthy of emulation. Dr. Patricia Licuanan, or Tati, as she is fondly called, is a social psychologist, an educator, and women's rights and empowerment activist. Her teaching, research, and practice in social psychology has focused on human factors in the national development process, education and educational reform and social issues, human resource development, and gender issues. She holds a Master's of Arts in Psychology from Cornell University and a PhD in Social Psychology from Pennsylvania State University. She has been the professor and chair of the Department of Psychology and academic vice president of Ateneo de Manila University. She also served as president of Miriam College. She was chairperson of the Philippine Commission on Higher Education, also called CHED, from July 2010 to January 2018. Dr. Licuan has played important leadership roles in a wide range of national and international organizations. As a psychologist and educator, she has been president of the Psychological Association of the Philippines, or PAP, and chair of the Philippine Social Science Council, PSSC, the Technical Panel on Humanities, Social Sciences and Communication of CHED, the Philippine Council of NGO Certification, or PCNC, and Executive Council of the Consortium of Women's Colleges, or CWC, among others. But perhaps more importantly, she spent decades teaching psychology to undergraduates as well as mentoring graduate students and future teachers, scholars, and professionals. Her work on women's issues has included serving as chairperson of the National Commission on the Role of Filipino Women, or called NCRFW, now called the Philippine Commission on Women, PCW. It was during her term that the groundbreaking of the Philippine Development Plan for Women, or PDPW, was launched. She was chair of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, or UNCSW, as the preparatory commission for the UN Fourth World Conference on Women held in Beijing, China in 1995. At that conference, she chaired the main committee which negotiated the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, the landmark global blueprint for gender equality and women's empowerment. In 2015, Dr. Licuanan led the Philippine delegation and delivered the keynote address at the UNCSW celebration of Beijing Plus 20 in New York. She is currently committed to and involved in a Beijing Plus 25 process that will fast-track the implementation of Beijing Platform for Action, promote the discussion on new and emerging issues, and revive the feminist fervor of Beijing. As chairperson of Commission on Higher Education, Dr. Licuanan led the agency in its efforts to expand access to quality education, to enhance the capacity or competency of students, graduates, and faculty, to develop and foster excellence in colleges and universities, and to enshrine ethical and innovative governance in higher education. Fellow Sonchans, guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a distinct honor to introduce and welcome an eloquent speaker on women's rights, education, and social activism. Let us please give a warm round of applause and welcome Dr. Patricia "Patty" Licuanan.
"2020 marks 25 years since the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women, held in Beijing, China in 1995. I am Patricia Licuanan from the Philippines, and I have Beijing on my mind. In 1994, I chaired the UN Commission on the Status of Women when it was the preparatory body for the World Conference. And in 1995, at the conference, I chaired the main committee that negotiated the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. Today, I would like to share with you my story about the long, winding, and bumpy road to the Fourth World Conference on Women, and the equally arduous and difficult path from Beijing to Beijing Plus 25. My Beijing story includes some background on the conference, its major accomplishments, the consultative and participatory processes, negotiations on the most controversial issues, and the final outcome of the conference. The road from Beijing will review the implementation of the platform and present some promises kept and broken, lessons learned, threats including COVID-19, opportunities, and ways forward. There were 4 UN World Conferences on Women: in Mexico in 1975, Copenhagen in 1980, Nairobi in 1985, and the 4th World Conference on Women in Beijing in 1995, with the theme Action for Equality, Development, and Peace. Even before we reached Beijing, the Women's Conference had already achieved one of its main objectives, raising the level of awareness and discussion of gender issues globally. The Women's Conference built on past UN conferences and upheld the commitments made, particularly in recent conferences of the decade: Environment and Development in Rio, 1992, Human Rights in Vienna, 1993, Population and Development in Cairo, 1994, and Social Development in Copenhagen, 1995. The conference covered familiar ground and reinforced old concerns raised during the UN Decade on Women, concerns that remained valid and still needed to be addressed, such as the feminization of poverty, economic participation, health, education, political participation, and human rights.
But most important, the World Conference broke new ground. Among the significant breakthroughs were, it elevated the issue of violence against women from a private domestic concern to the level of public policy. It acknowledged women's unremunerated work at home, in family farms, and in small business enterprises. It reaffirmed women's rights as human rights and brought women's sexual rights within the parameters of human rights. It affirmed the rights of the girl child, addressed issues of discrimination against her, and sought protection for her from all forms of abuse and exploitation. It recognized women migrant workers as a vulnerable group and ensured their rights, the first time that women migrant workers, in addition to simply women migrants, were so recognized. Finally, it is important to emphasize that the conference did reach agreement on most issues and passed the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action by consensus. The platform, with its 12 critical areas of concern, namely women and poverty, education and training of women, women and health, violence against women and armed conflict, women and the economy, women in power and decision-making, institutional mechanisms for the advancement of women, human rights of women, women and the media, women and the environment, and the girl child, is the most comprehensive and progressive global blueprint for women's rights and empowerment. The preparations for the Fourth World Conference on Women involved a complex consultation process at national, regional, and global levels. At the national level, preparatory activities included public education campaigns, discussion of country positions on key issues, workshops on the draft platform for action, and preparation of country reports. 5 regional preparatory meetings with parallel NGO forums were organized by the economic commissions, with a regional platform for action coming out of each one. Expert group meetings were convened, focusing on key areas of concern. The outputs of the regional preparatory meetings and the expert group meetings were all inputs into the draft platform for action, negotiated at the 39th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. At the conference in Beijing, the work of the main committee was to arrive at a platform for action that was the product of consensus. A document approved by a UN conference, while not legally binding on any country, nonetheless carries considerable moral pressure, particularly when backed by strong advocacy. Negotiating was done by regional groups. The most controversial issues that were brought to Beijing were rights, resources, reproductive health, and sexual orientation. The debates on rights included the World Conference on Human Rights and its follow-up, international instruments and their ratification, universality of rights and the consideration of cultural and religious particularities. The main protagonists tended to be authoritarian or controlled states versus more democratic or pluralistic states. There were disagreements as well between religious fundamentalists and secular states. The debates on resources involved the macroeconomic framework, debt, structural adjustment, sustainable development, and microeconomic issues such as unpaid work and national accounts. The issue of resources to implement the platform was particularly controversial. The main players in these debates were the developed or donor countries who advocated restructuring existing resources versus developing countries who pushed for new, and additional resources for the platform. The most heated debates were on the chapter on health, and these were a replay of the debates at the International Conference on Population and Development in Cairo. The controversy was in reproductive health, reproductive rights, sexual rights, safe, unsafe, forced abortion, sexual information, education, and counseling. The most heated arguments came from religious fundamentalists and secularists. A step beyond Cairo was taken in the recommended action to consider reviewing laws containing punitive action against women who have undergone illegal abortion. The debate over sexual rights were long and heated. Finally, the compromise language did not use the term sexual rights. Instead, the text read, "The human rights of women include their right to have control over and decide freely and responsibly on matters related to their sexuality, including sexual and reproductive health, free of coercion, discrimination, and violence. Equal relationships between women and men in matters of sexual relations and reproduction, including full respect for the integrity of the person, require mutual respect, consent, and shared responsibility for sexual behavior and its consequences." Possibly the most emotional of the debates at the conference was on sexual orientation. The issue seemed harmless enough. Sexual orientation was simply listed among many factors that act as barriers to full equality, along with such things as race, age, ethnicity, religion, etc. A long discussion ensued in which delegations supported retaining the reference to sexual orientation because discrimination on any grounds should be prohibited. Others, on the other hand, opposed, arguing that it would contradict the religious and cultural values and that no international precedent existed for using the term. After about an hour and a half, and with many more speakers on the list, the chair ended the discussions, noting the significance of the fact that this was the first time the topic was discussed in the UN, and made the difficult decision to delete the reference to sexual orientation throughout the document. Throughout the negotiations, delegations from developed nations consistently gave priority to human rights or equality, while the Group of 77 and China pushed for development. Both groups sought to maintain this balance throughout the platform. The Fourth World Conference on Women was different from past conferences. It was by far the largest UN conference ever, with estimates running up to 45 to 50,000 people attending both the intergovernmental meeting and the non-governmental forum in Huairou. Debates were more heated, more emotional, and the most controversial issues were women's issues instead of geopolitical ones. The conference was caught between two dynamic and powerful global forces. The global women's movement, represented primarily by women NGOs, and religious fundamentalism, represented by Catholic and Islamic fundamentalists. A most special feature of the Fourth World Conference on Women was its highly participatory nature. The broad-based interest and involvement at national, regional, and global levels was unmistakable. The partnership with NGOs throughout the process, though not without tension, was unparalleled. In both formal and informal processes of the conference and its preparations, decision-making was participative and non-hierarchical. The conference benefited tremendously from the high degree of networking among women's groups since Nairobi. It was a long, winding, rough, and bumpy road, but we finally got to our destination. The main committee completed its report on the draft platform for action at 4:45 in the morning of Friday, September 15, with most delegates weary but happy at their accomplishment. The expected reservations were registered both at the main committee and at the final plenary. But at the closing plenary, after some reservations had been made, the delegate from India took the floor to announce that her delegation had no reservations. The applause was thunderous. Since Beijing, the UN has conducted regular reviews of the implementation of the Beijing Platform for Action, Beijing +5, +10, +15, +20, and now Beijing +25. Reviews over the years have revealed disappointing results, with progress far short of the ambitious goals of Beijing. While some Beijing promises were kept, many were broken. First, some good news. Most recent reviews reveal that gender parity in education has practically been achieved. There have been substantial reductions in maternal mortality. 2/3 of countries in the world have passed laws to stop domestic violence. Nearly all countries have national machineries for the advancement of women. The UN Entity for Gender Equality and the Empowerment of Women, or UN Women, was created. There is a noticeable decline in the incidence of child, early, and forced marriages. But many promises were broken. Women still make up the majority of the world's poor and are often the poorest of the poor. 75 to 80% of the world's 50 million refugees and internally displaced persons are women and their dependent children. Women all over the world are underrepresented in high-profile jobs which are better paid. Only 26 out of 186 countries have reached the 30% mark of women's representation in parliament. The shrinking democratic space in many states has resulted in increased attack on women's human rights defenders. Media is still a man's world, and women still bear the brunt of coping with climate-related shocks and stresses and health effects of pollution. There were valuable lessons learned from our successes and failures in the implementation of the platform. We have learned that perspectives on women's issues have changed. During the Beijing preparations, for instance, when women and the environment was being proposed as a critical area of concern, a common reaction was, "What has gender got to do with the environment?" Years later, at Beijing +20 and +25 reviews, a significant number of country statements included the environment, climate change and disasters, and women's role in environmental protection and disaster management. But some perspectives have not changed. Contentious issues such as reproductive health and rights are still contentious today. Sexual orientation and gender identity and expression remain highly controversial, with little prospects of achieving consensus. We have learned that de jure equality, or equality in law, is a necessary but not sufficient condition for de facto equality, or equality in fact. The huge advances in creating and improving legal frameworks on women's rights have not translated into women's actual enjoyment of rights, as social norms continue to pose a challenge to gender equality. Our favorite strategies over time have begun to reveal their flaws. We realize that microfinance must move to a different level for more major impact. And gender mainstreaming may not be the answer after all. Gender mainstreaming can only be effective when accompanied by strong gender equality and women's empowerment entities. We are confident that good gender disaggregated data is a most powerful tool. Commitment and passion are impressive, but hard data is more convincing. There is need to strengthen data institutions and to build up the data capacity of national machineries. Allies and friends come in all shapes and sizes, and we need them all. We must make friends, develop partnerships, identify champions for our cause. We must build, nurture, and strengthen our partnerships. Partnerships with men, with other women inside or outside women's movements, with technocrats and activists, mainstream NGOs, and other social movements. It is unfortunate that the Beijing Platform for Action and its 12 critical areas of concern has been overshadowed by the Sustainable Development Goals with their Gender Equality Goal 5. We must strategically link the platform with the SDGs for the purpose of engendering all goals, but always aware that the SDGs, for all their value, are not a replacement for the platform for action. Today, 25 years after Beijing, the efforts at genuine implementation of the platform for action face serious threats. The feminist movement is aging, and there is need for young feminists to take over. We face the threat of diminishing resources due to lack of prioritization of women's issues. The impact of geopolitics causes a widening of the gap between and among countries and makes women more vulnerable. We are threatened by misogyny and sexism as resistance to feminist gains. And there is the rise of conservative and right-wing governments and the erosion of democratic space, even in countries that were champions of women's empowerment in Beijing. As we observe Beijing Plus 25 in the time of COVID-19, it is important to emphasize the gender impact of the pandemic. COVID-19 presents a particularly grave threat as existing inequalities are exacerbated by the pandemic, thus impacting negatively on women and girls in critical areas such as poverty, the economy, human rights, and the environment. Even areas where there have been gains since Beijing have seen these gains eroded by COVID, as violence against women rises, health conditions deteriorate, and young women and girls are once again kept from school. Beijing Plus 25 does, however, provide opportunities for feminist action that were not present 25 years ago. Information and communication technology is a valuable tool. Inter-movement solidarity and cooperation expands involvement in lobbying for women's rights. Intergenerational feminism brings in new voices, new thinking, new ways of doing. Feminist agenda setting ensures that feminist issues are carried in national development plans. The Beijing review processes provide opportunities not only to document progress or gains, but also to gain access to decision-making spaces and platforms to mainstream a feminist agenda. Finally, critical feminist analysis provides an opportunity to repoliticize women's human rights, emphasizing a feminist analysis of power relations to counter the often too technical and bureaucratic approach to gender mainstreaming. Beijing Plus 25. Has it really been 25 years since Beijing? I remember so well when the draft Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action was finally approved at the main committee at 4:45 in the morning of September 15, 1995. At the time, through the euphoria of final consensus, I made a personal vow that I would nurture that Beijing high in myself and in others for the difficult task of implementing the platform. 25 years after, I still have traces of that Beijing high, and I hope that the Beijing Plus 25 process of hard-nosed review, celebrating gains, recognizing gaps, identifying new and emerging issues, reaffirming our commitment to the platform, and seeking innovative strategies for implementation will bring back and strengthen the feminist spirit and fervor of Beijing as we face the challenges ahead. There is need to revive and revitalize the spirit of Beijing. Beijing is not just history, it's not just a set of exciting memories. I have Beijing on my mind because at the UN Fourth World Conference on Women and through the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action, governments, the United Nations, and civil society committed themselves to action for equality, development, and peace. And those commitments still have to be met. I welcome with enthusiasm the many young women here today, a new generation of feminists, a new generation of Beijing champions. At the same time, I am thrilled by the presence of old friends from Beijing days. I am happy to know that we are still at it, working for gender equality and women's empowerment. We must keep the faith. We must stay the course. Because another important lesson I have learned from Beijing is the need for tenacity and steadfastness. So let us recommit ourselves to action for equality, development, and peace, and to a better world for women and for all. Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Tati. Before we give the certificates of appreciation, we have with us here in our Zoom room, Dr. Tati herself. And we'd like to hear her reaction. She has asked, has it really been 25 years since Beijing? Is Beijing past history? Are we jogging in place? I used to be young and angry. Now, Dr. Tati, I am still old but angry now. And I guess we are part of your aging feminist friends. We are joined here in the audience with the younger ones. So we would like to hear from you. Because if it's tenacity and steadfastness that you want, Zonta can give you tenacity and steadfastness. Please share with us a few of your thoughts and how we can share your Beijing high with you 25 years after Beijing. Everybody, please give a virtual clap to Dr. Tati Licuanan. Tati?
Thank you, Lorna. Actually, my sisters in Zonta, I created that video precisely because I wanted to stress the continuing importance of the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women held 25 years ago, and the significance as well of the Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action. So I really feel, can I call on the Zonta powerful machinery to keep on that fight, no? To stay the course, keep the faith, work for gender equality and women's empowerment, and not forget all that has come before us, everything that we worked for, and what we committed ourselves to 25 years ago. So I hope that this afternoon you got a little bit infected. Some of you got infected with my Beijing High. And I hope to work more closely with you as we continue this ongoing fight. Stay angry. Lorna, stay angry. Thank you.
Stay angry. Thank you very much, Dr. Tati. Dr. Tati said that she's planning a reunion of all of those who have gone to many of the Beijing forums. Somebody please, unmute yourself. Somebody is okay. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Tati. I understand that you're organizing from Mien Versosa a reunion of all of your Beijing friends and colleagues. We will certainly be
I
there.
think you
And
guys
certainly,
those who went, please, maybe most of you were too young to have been in Beijing, but those of you who were there, please attend. We will be circulating more information about this. I believe it's on December 15th.
yes. I saw in the chat room Mary Jane. She sent Mary Jane Ortega. She's sending her
She was
regards as
there,
well.
I think. Yeah.
Okay, so the Beijing High, don't worry, Dr. Tati. We will get high on Beijing 25 with you. Here to give our formal certificate of appreciation, may I welcome again our District Governor Pam, who Dr. Tati was so delighted that we were able to get you as guest speaker in our launch today. Director Pam, District Governor Pam.
That was such an inspiration. Dr. Licuanan, such an inspiration. Thank you very much. This certificate of appreciation is hereby given to Dr. Patricia Licuanan for her invaluable support as the guest speaker during the webinar of Zonta International District 17, Area 5, entitled Launching of 16 Days of Activism, given this day, the 25th of November, 2020, by Area 5 Director Lizette Jean F. Lynn and Shavali Pamela Osatangra, District 17 Governor. Thank you very much. Truly an honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, District Governor Pam. And as I said to Dr. Tati, you were very delighted when we were able to have her here.
Pleasure to be here.
This event will be in our Facebook for the district governor. So those of you or those members, we are in so many clubs all over the world, we'll be hearing you again. I have the honor to proceed to introduce our next speaker, who cannot join us today because she is in Senate sessions, but she has sent her message, Senator Risa Hontiveros-Baraquel. Senator Risa is a health and women's rights advocate. She is a proud activist and champion of the basic sectors. She is the Philippines' first socialist woman senator. Her record in the Senate is testament to her continuing fight against social injustice, inequality, and the struggle for stronger gender rights for all. In her first term as senator, she has passed 13 record laws: the expanded maternity leave law, the strengthened anti-hospital deposit law, special protection of children in situations of armed conflict law, the Bangsamoro Organic Law, the Universal Healthcare Law, the Philippine HIV and AIDS Policy Law, the amended Magna Carta for persons with disabilities, our Philippine Mental Health Law, the Safe Streets and Public Spaces Law, the Kalusugan at Nutrition ng mga Nanay Law, the Speech Pathology Law, the Pamtawid Pamilyang Pilipina Program Law, the Simulated Birth Rectification Law. Senator Risa also has filed measures which hopefully she will be able to have passed in this current Congress. Among them is the Universal Social Pension for Senior Citizens, para sa atin to. The Girls Not Bride Bill, the Prevention of Teenage Pregnancy Bill, the Expanded Social Parents Welfare Bill, the Student Rights and Welfare Bill, the SOGI Equality Bill, which protects the LGBTQ communities from discrimination, and the much-awaited Divorce Bill. Many of you probably know the music, Captain Van Trapp, The Sound of Music, where Lisa, as a young child, as a young student from the Saint Scholasticas, played one of the daughters as one of the Van Trapp kids in Sound of Music. She wears many hats. As I said, she's a singer, she's a scholar, having graduated cum laude from the Ateneo de Manila University. She also is a peace advocate. She's one. Probably you do not know that she is one of 1,000 women nominated for the Peace Prize. And she is a TOYM awardee for peace. A former television journalist and news anchor. And important to note, she is also a solo mother to 4 children. Senator Risa is a dear friend, and today she will talk about one of her landmark legislations, the Bawal ang Bastos, or the Safe Spaces Law. Please welcome SRH, Senator Risa Hontiveros.
Magandang araw sa mga kabaro ko from Zonta Club, Makati, Ayala. I hope you're all staying safe and well. It's always a delight to talk to women about our rights and how we can better protect and preserve these rights, not only for us, but also for our children. As the author of the Bawal Bastos Law, I'm glad that you're joining the global campaign to end violence against women through this event. The Bawal Bastos Law does aim to put an end, once and for all, to the culture of violence in whatever form that is pervasive across the Philippines. For so long, we'd been conditioned to be okay with random men wolf whistling on our long walk home. We'd been conditioned to accept that rape jokes are simply some men's brand of humor. We'd been conditioned that to keep the peace, we must remain silent. As women's rights advocates, I know you will not be silent. And the Bawal Bastos Law doesn't want you to cower in the face of violence either. The law is here to support us as we raise our voices. The law penalizes those who think that they can get away with catcalling, misogynistic and homophobic slurs, or unwanted sexual advances just because they can. The law sends every single Filipino a simple message: bawal ang bastos. Wherever we are, on the streets, in universities, in our workplaces, and even online, bawal ang bastos. There is no place for rude, obscene words and deeds. This landmark legislation wants to make the spaces we occupy safe for all, And when implemented properly, this promises a behavioral and cultural change in the country. And as the Bawal Bastos law makes violators accountable, the law also explicitly stipulates that holistic support be given to victim survivors. Workplaces, educational or training institutions, for instances, are mandated to craft policies and mechanisms in order to support those who may experience or report gender-based harassment or discrimination. Harassment is a pernicious act, and its negative effects on women can linger for a long period of time. Our institutions must be ready with how to respond to the different levels of shame, guilt, or trauma to which our women may descend because of harassment. The intricacies of the Bawal Bastos law should definitely be discussed more often, so I'm grateful that you chose to include, to discuss and dissect this particular law in your webinar series, as it is one that does respond to the new, often subtle forms of violence perpetrated against women in this day and age, in this digital era. During this pandemic, more people are utilizing online platforms, but this also means that more people, women in particular, are being harassed online. Our office has been receiving waves of reports of all sorts of gender-based online harassment and abuse, from intimate photos of women being circulated on messaging apps to child sexual exploitation materials, mostly of girls, being passed around social media groups. This pandemic also affirms what we've already known to be true, that women and children often bear the brunt of violence. But even when these situations seem dire, there still have been little wins. We saw this win when institutions such as the Philippine National Police, which had previously received flack for its info materials telling women how to dress to avoid rape, then changed their campaign materials into statements like, "Ito ay dress, hindi yes." We also saw this win when the hashtag #DoBetter trended online, which demanded that universities be accountable for cases of sexual harassment. Soon after, schools issued statements that investigations would be conducted, actions would be undertaken. We also saw this win when the Senate recently passed the Girls Not Brides Act that I authored, which will make child marriages illegal in this country. Child marriage is child abuse. And just like how the Bawal Bastos law makes it clear that harassers, abusers, and predators will be penalized, the Child Not Brides Act also makes it known that child marriage is a crime. The Girls Not Brides Act is yet to be passed into law, but it has been widely supported in the Senate. And I'm hopeful that our colleagues in the House of Representatives will do the same. But aside from us legislators, these laws would not have been possible without you, women and children's rights advocates. I always say this, but it does merit repetition. No law will be effective without the citizens' participation, without women's participation, without your participation. So thank you for taking up the initiative, for taking up the responsibility to defend our rights, to protect our autonomy, and to push for genuine gender equality. Thank you. Mabuhay kayo.
Thank you very much to Senator Risa again. She had wanted to join us, but she's very busy at the Senate now, doing what she does best, legislating for women and the underprivileged and vulnerable. To formally acknowledge Senator Risa Hontiveros-Baraquel with a certificate of appreciation, can I call back our District Governor Pam?
Thank you.
to give the certificate of appreciation.
Thank you, PhD Lorna. Thank you. This certificate of appreciation is hereby given to Senator Risa Hontiveros-Baraquel for her invaluable support and her legislative response during the webinar of Zonta International District 17, Area 5, entitled Launching of 16 Days of Activism, given this day, the 25th of November, 2020, by Area 5 Director Lizette Jean F. Lim and Javali Pamela Osatanugra, District 17 Governor. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much to our district governor. Just a small translation. The Bawal Bastos law, I guess to translate it in English, says say no to assholes. That's what it means. Let us not allow whistle calling, catcalling, etc., in public spaces, whether it also in the home and the offices, because this must be a safe place for all. Before I adjourn this meeting, or before I move on to part 2 of this meeting, can I just end with a few words, because Dr. Tati Licuanan mentions the monumental 4th conference, World Conference of Women, and I happened to come across the speech of the best president the United States never had, Hillary Clinton. It was there when she said that women's rights are human rights. So let me end this segment with a quote from her speech. It won't take long. And here it goes. For too long, she says, the history of women has been a history of silence. It is time to break that silence. It is no longer acceptable to discuss women's rights as separate from human rights. It is a violation of human rights when babies are denied food, or drowned, or suffocated, or their spines broken, simply because they are born girls. It is a violation of human rights when women and girls are sold into the slavery of prostitution for human greed, and the kinds of reasons that are used to justify their practice should no longer be tolerated. It is a violation of human rights when women are doused with gasoline and set on fire and burned to death because their marriage dowries are too small. It is a violation of human rights when individual women are raped in their own communities, and when thousands of women are subjected to rape as a tactic or price of war. It is a violation of human rights when a leading cause of death worldwide of women ages 14 to 44 is the violence they are subjected to in their own homes and by their own relatives. It is a violation of human rights when young girls are brutalized by the practice of genital mutilation. It is a violation of human rights when women are denied the right to plan their own families, and that includes being forced to have abortions or being sterilized against their will. If there is a message to all of us here this afternoon that must echo forth from this 16 days of activism launch, let it be that human rights and women's rights are women's rights, and women's rights are human rights. And among those rights are the rights to speak freely, as we have done in today's forum, and the right to be heard. So, fellow Sonchans, guests, that is the work before us. Before all of us, we must have a vision of the world we want to see for our children and our grandchildren. The time is now. We must, in the words of Hillary Clinton, we must move beyond rhetoric. We must move beyond recognition of problems to working together to have the common efforts to build the common ground that we hope to see, a world without discrimination. On that note, I'd like to thank everybody who participated in this part one of our forum this afternoon. God's blessings to you all and to all of the people that you have blessed by your advocacy. Maraming salamat po. I am your moderator for part one of this launch, Lorna Patahok Kapunan. Hashtag old and angry, but still angry. Thank you so much. And I turn you now to the moderator of our second half, Vice Area Director Odette Wallace. Let us all give each other a big, big hand. Take it away, Odette.
Yes, I'm still reeling on high from that dynamic, inspirational speakers. It is so amazing how you can get energized. And now to give you more energy for our beloved Zonta projects, I'd like to welcome you to the second part of our program. Today is a momentous affair that had the hardworking team of District 17 under High Energy Chair Rita D had been working on. The launch of the partnership of Zonta Foundation for Women and RCBC Diamond Card, a pro-women card that will give support to our beloved Zonta and all the projects for women. To show you what's happening in our 16 days of activism to empower women, every November 25 to December 10, our advocacy is to say no to violence against women and girls. Our billboards, our billboard, because we have also in Tuguegarao and in Cebu. But this one, which will feature our 16 notable, accomplished, empowered women. This is located along EDSA before Makati, going south on Guadalupe. We brought you the billboard tonight. And this will contain the 16 Zonta advocates, exemplifying the empowered to inspire the public to join our campaign.
I was looking for this.
They each hold an RCBC bank card, a diamond card that empowers the holder and enable the card holder to join the RCBC Rewards program to donate to Zonta Foundation for Women. Every 800 rewards points gives 200 pesos to our foundation. The CFW is a global charitable organization working to empower women and girls worldwide. Let us thank our 16 Zonta advocates, distinguished Zonta officers, professionals, and business owners in their own right who have so kindly collaborated to support our campaign. Here they are. know most of them, and I know that they will not volunteer to have their picture taken and be shown on EDSA, but for Zonta's cause, they collaborated with us. So here, number one is Annabel Tanco, President, Zonta Club of Alabang. Number two, Verma Vergel de Dios, past Zonta International Director. Number three, Dr. Primitiva Baby Season, past District Governor. Number four, Representative Shari Ann Tan de los Santos, current President of Zonta Club of Samar. Number five, Attorney Lorna Kapunan, past Area Director, Zonta Club of Makati, Ayala. Number six, Leslie Tan Rivera, past President, Zonta Club, Makati Central Business District. Number seven, Eleanor Soriano Orbiging, past President, Zonta Club of Makati, Paseo de Rojas. Number eight, Elizabeth Enverga, an educator. She is now currently President of Zonta Club of Muntinlupa and Environs. Number nine, Dr. Mildred Van de Voos Vitangcol, President, Zonta Club of Makati, Ayala. Number 10, Architect Kathy Saldaña Siegel, President of Zonta Club, Metro Rizal. Number 11, Sandra Banzon Abad Santos, President, Zonta Club of Mandaluyong, San Juan 1. Number 12, Mary Jane Ortega, past President, Zonta Club, La Union, San Fernando. Number 13, Azucena Yao or Seni, President, Zonta Club of Greater Rizal 2. Number 14, Attorney Regina Heraldes, Area Director, current, Area 1. Number 15, Yasmin Dairit Crisostomo, a jeweler, and Director of Zonta Club of Muntinlupa and Environs. And number 16, Socorro Reyes Bautista, Treasurer, Zonta Club, Makati, Paseo de Rojas. And now I'd like to give you, to represent RCBC, our conscientious partner in this donation yielding partnership, Angela Mirasol, First Vice President of RCBC Bancard.
An empowering afternoon to everyone. This has been an eye-opener, and like listening to all the presentations earlier has just made it really clearer for us why we should be partnering with Zonta. And in fact, joining me today is our Chief Executive Officer, Arniel Ong, our Chief Commercial Officer, Mylene Vico, as well as other top officers of RCBC Bancard. We are truly pleased to be partnering with Zonta. Now, we did 2 projects with the team of Ms. Rita, primary of which is the RCBC Bancard Diamond Card. This is a special thing for Zontians because when we give you an RCBC Bancard Diamond Card, every time you use your card, RCBC Bancard will give a donation to Zonta International. And because it's RCBC Bancard who's giving the donation, this would mean that you will still get your rewards points. So it is in fact during the 16 days of activism that we are doing a special campaign where all RCBC Bancard cardholders will be making donations. All their donations will be doing a top-up. We highly believe in the projects of Zonta, and we truly believe that supporting you will also support nation building, which is part of our mission. In fact, our chairman, Mrs. Helen Yuchenko, a very empowered woman, would have also loved to attend, except she's not available at this moment. But I will be reading the message she has, especially for the 16 advocates. From Mrs. Helen D. We have always aspired to offer products that will benefit our clients and will have a positive impact on the nation. The RCBC Banker Diamond Platinum MasterCard is one of these. I am glad that the 16 distinguished advocates of Zonta have acknowledged and recognized the ability of the card to empower women, not only through the benefits that are available through the card, but most especially because of its unique Diamond Cares program. At this point, I would like to conclude that while this launch is starting, we hope that this will really build on and move forward. And we look forward to the success of this partnership, because the success of this partnership would also mean more funds for the empowerment for the Zonta causes, which we at RCBC Bankers also believe in. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Ange. And now I'd like to we call her the Dragon Lady. Oops. The chairman of the PR team of District 17, our hardworking, high energy, Rita D.
Thank you, Odette. Thank you, everyone, for staying through the end of this launch event. Our District 17, the largest district of Zonta International, covers the Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Macau. We worked on this campaign as we want it to be as impactful. This is mandated, of course, by Zonta International. An annual event, our battle cry is Zonta says no to violence against women. However, this time, we say no to violence by focusing on empowering the woman because, as I quote from our only Filipina Zonta International President, Miss Olivia Ferry, that she said that it is by empowering women that you save her from violence. Therefore, our campaign tagline, empowering women through service and advocacy, and the Zonta advocates. Our over 100 events put together by our 81 clubs in our 16 days activism calendar can be found in our new Zonta International District 17 Facebook pages. Just simply go to facebook.com/Zonta17, ZONTD17. Our activities will focuses on stories of challenges of women and protection, health, wellness, beauty, financial aptitude, livelihood, and interesting talks by leaders on national and world events influencing society today. I believe this is more enriching than simply watching Netflix. We have all 16 days to keep you occupied. Our main aim in this campaign is straightforward. I like to be straightforward. To show that what we do in Zonta, people should know we work day and night. We are made to work and we love to work day and night for our causes. And we, of course, look forward to the donations from cardholders to our foundation through RCBC Bankcard Rewards Program. In a rather short period of only 60 days, we planned and conceptualized tirelessly day and night with our campaign partner, Angela, and her team. We managed to gather activities from all clubs, you can imagine that's 81 clubs, to put into one calendar for easy viewing in every home through the popular Zoom technology. I would like to thank our supportive 6 area directors to heed to our call. They are here. And Miss Attorney Gina is one of our 16 advocates. Okay. And to my PR vice chairs for their hard work.
mag-chest. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello.
Who's that? Little Sunshine. Okay. And
Hello?
of course, a big thanks to our Zonta advocates to show what empowered means. More importantly, I would like to thank our media friends, Lexi Schultz of ANC Rundown and Rico Hizon of CNN Philippines Final Word for allowing the team to talk about our campaign in their high-rated programs. And to a women cause supporter, Miguel Belmonte, CEO of Philippine Star, and his lifestyle editor, Milet Manangkil. Philippine Star is one of our top daily in the Philippines. So, you know, nowadays, a full-page article is very rare. So please read Philippine Star, watch ANC and CNN Philippines every day. By the way, you can access these shows and the Philippine Star lifestyle page at our district Facebook pages. Lastly, many thanks to our own and very famous Sonchan, Attorney Lorna Kapunan, for her support throughout the campaign, including allocating her radio program for this campaign. Listen to our segment in our district pages. Again, thank you everyone for your much appreciated support as we continue to further Zonta's mission to empower women through advocacy and service. So make a difference. Little Sunshine, put on mute. Okay, so make a difference, everybody. Join now our 16 Days of Activism campaign and donate to Zonta Foundation for Women through RCBC Bankcard Rewards. Maraming salamat po on behalf of your Sonshans from District 7.
Maraming salamat din, Rita. You have really maxed your energies to give us a prolific result. And now, don't go yet. We have our very own empowered Sontian to sing us a few songs. Tandi Viray from Zonta Metro Rizal.
Smile without a reason why. Laugh as if you're a child. Smile no matter what they tell you. Don't listen to a word they say, 'cause life is beautiful that way. Tears, a tidal wave of tears, light that slowly disappears. Wait before you close the curtain. There's still another game to play, and life is beautiful that way. In his eyes forevermore, I will always be as close as you remember from before. your long-awaited prize. We forget about our sorrow and think about a brighter day, 'cause life is beautiful that way. La, 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 la.
Thank you so much, Sandy, for complying last minute, you know. I'll tell you a little bit about Sandy. She is a real brand new member of President Kathy Saldana Siegel from Zonta Club of Metro Rizal. Ang bayad ko sa'yo, my payment, because it's free, I will advertise your business. Sandy is a furniture and upholstery maker. There you go. Thank you so much, Sandy. And now, to close this event, is our beloved AD, Area 5, AD Lizette Jean Lim.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's time to say goodbye, but after I adjourn the meeting, you can still stay and make socializing, okay? I now officially adjourn the meeting.
Thank you so much, everyone, for making this such a success. Chair Rita, your team, kudos. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Team present-
Dragon lady.
PDG baby, one of them.
Hi, Pam.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So nice to see you,
Governor Pam.
Thank you, Governor Pam.
Thank you so much.
For all your support. Thank you for all your support.
Yes.
Yours.
Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic.
For working
Fantastic
24
opening.
Ladies, we still have 15 days to go.
I know.
Every day we have an activity and program. Please attend.
15 more days
15
to
days
go.
to go.
Thank
This
you.
is just the first day, okay?
I know. When is the next? When is the next?
Tomorrow we have a webinar with Sister Mary of Saint Scholastica, how to be beautiful from a nun's point of view.
Can you join me if you're free on the 27th? I will talk about the family code, and we'll give you a draft of your last will and testament, which you can write.
Good.
It is a holographic will.
Yeah.
So you can sit down and write your last will and testament. And if you have kids who are getting married during this pandemic, you may want them to execute a prenuptial agreement.